Hello, Goddess. Welcome back to the Hello Goddess podcast. I am your host, Mandy de Grace. I am a Reiki practitioner, a naturopathy student, and a spiritual seeker. Now, today's episode is going to be all about self-doubt. I really feel that a lot of people that are listening to this podcast have struggled with self-doubt at some point in their lives, myself included. And that's why I wanted to pop in, sit with you today and talk about self-doubt. I want to explain to you what I've personally been through and the things that I've learned to really break down that insecurity and rebuild my confidence from the ground up. So let's begin by defining the term self-doubt. The way I see it, it's not only about self-doubt in a certain skill set or self-doubt in your abilities to do a specific job. I'm talking about the self-doubt that goes deep, the one that touches your sense of self-worth. Now, I'm going to be completely candid with you. Earlier today, I tried to record this podcast episode and I kept messing up. And I just ended up deleting the whole thing because I thought, this is not good at all. Like, nobody would want to listen to this. And it's so ironic because I was doubting myself. I was doubting my own abilities to create an episode. And like I said earlier, it's not necessarily about the skill. It goes deeper than that. When you have a lot of self-doubt that appears in your life, it may be the time for you to sit down and look inwards. What is it that is causing all of this doubt in yourself? There are many things that can be causing that, and that's what I want to get into in this podcast episode. And I also want to offer you guys some guidance on how you can rebuild your confidence and tap into your sense of self-worth. So sit down, get cozy with a nice warm blanket, maybe get some tea or coffee, and we're going to have this conversation and I'm going to help you out, girl. Like I said earlier, I'm still struggling with insecurity sometimes, but I think I've made a lot of progress over the years, and I want to share with you all the things that I've used to build up my confidence and to recognize my self-worth. Notice how I said recognize my sense of self-worth? That's because I think self-worth is something that we all have. We don't need to earn it. We just simply are worthy. I'm going to get into the semantics of that a little bit later, but just right now I wanted to explain a little bit what I've been through. So as a child and as a teenager, I struggled with social anxiety and being really shy. I remember I wanted to be that confident person, that well-spoken person that would just be cool, but I just wasn't that person. I was very shy and introverted. The only time that I was really confident was when I was on stage as a dancer. I don't know what it was. I think it was I really believed in my abilities as a dancer. And when I was on stage, it was kind of like I was playing a character. I wasn't being myself. I didn't need to talk. And I think that's what I struggled the most with, is speaking, which is ironic because I have podcasts now, but I still struggle with speech sometimes. Now I feel like it's much easier for me to make friends now that I'm older and I have more confidence. But then it was really hard, and I think a lot of people got the wrong idea about me. I remember a lot of people, I got to know them and they were like, oh yeah, before I knew you, I didn't know you were this kind. I didn't think you were this nice. And I guess that was meant as a compliment, but the way I see it, I was so shy and closed off that they couldn't really see my personality. And that's one of the negative things about self-doubt and insecurity, is you're kind of cutting yourself off from the world, and people don't get to see the real you. And you are a gift. The person you are, your talents, your intelligence, your gifts, all of the things that you have to offer, if you just keep that to yourself, you're doing a big disservice to the world. And that's one of the reasons why I started to push myself to be more creative, outgoing, and to really share my voice. So, yeah, I was really struggling with anxiety, and it was really bad. Like, I remember a few times in my life, I needed to go blow my nose in front of the class, and that's where the clinics was. Like, it was all the way in the front. And I felt like when I was walking to that Kleenex box, that every single person in that class was looking at me and judging me. And I didn't know what to do with my arms. I remember I was like, where do I put my arms? I'm so awkward. Just walking to that Kleenex box. But what I mean by this is like, when you're really shy and when you're really insecure, you think that everybody's judging you when they really aren't. Like, I learned over time that when you think people are looking at you or judging you, most of the time they're just focused on their own lives and their own problems. You are not the center of other people's universe. And that is normal. That's healthy. Just like other people aren't the center of your universe. So yeah, it's kind of like, also, I think everybody can relate to this, but like we all have a few moments in our lives that were extremely embarrassing. Like, we were so awkward and so embarrassing. And sometimes the mind does that thing like, oh yeah, do you remember it back in 2009 when you did this to this person and it was so awkward and everybody was laughing at you? Yeah, and it's hard. Like, your brain will bring back these memories where you messed up or where you embarrassed yourself. But if you talk to the person that were there in that moment that you were embarrassing yourself, they probably don't even remember it. Like, sure, maybe they laughed at the time and maybe that was something you guys talked about for like a few months, but after a while, like, you have to think, you're not, again, you're not the center of other people's universes. So things like that, they're just, people just forget about it, and it's time for you to move on from that story and forgive yourself for being human. Literally, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has embarrassing moments and moments that they're not too proud of. It's just, we have to let it go after a while and just be the person that we want to be now. That's all that matters. So, if I compare myself from the past to myself right now, the biggest difference is I have a lot more self-compassion. I think back then I didn't really know what that was. Like, nobody taught me that. It's definitely a skill that you develop over time. But like, I used to just not let myself live down anything, and I used to be so hard on myself, and just like, as soon as I said something to someone, I would think, oh my god, that was so stupid, what did I say? You know what I mean? Like, I was really, really hard on myself. And now I am a lot more compassionate with myself because I understand that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. That's inevitable. But that doesn't change my worth as a person. So growing up, I also had a external locus of control. Now, that's like a fancy psychology term to say that I was very much affected by my external reality. So for example, if somebody didn't like me, I would think like automatically something's wrong with me. Like, why do they not like me? There's something wrong. Should I change? Like, I want this person to like me. And on the other hand, if somebody really liked me, that would give me like the biggest boost of confidence ever. And I realize now that other people's opinions of me don't mean really anything. What matters is what I think about myself. And I know that sounds cheesy, but you really have to, like I was saying, the internal locus of control, you really have to find your sense of self-worth from within. Otherwise, it's always going to waver. Like, if somebody says something negative, you're going to feel bad about yourself. And then if somebody gives you too much praise, you might become too confident. So the first advice I would give you, if you're going through that experience right now, where you really depend on other people's opinions to create your sense of worth, I would say stop that altogether. Completely forget what other people think. And I know easier said than done, right? But if you start building your confidence and your self-worth from within, it's going to be unshakable. And I think that having an unshakable sense of self-worth is one of the biggest assets you can have in your life, because whatever you want to achieve in your life, whatever you want to attract in your life, whether that is an amazing career, beautiful relationship, beautiful friendships, you're going to attract that so much easier if you believe in yourself, if you believe that you are worthy of receiving those things. Don't wait until you have that partner that tells you that you're amazing to believe that you're amazing. Don't wait until you have that perfect dream job to feel successful. You have to generate those feelings from within before they materialize outside of yourself. Because if you don't, you're giving your power away to other people and to other situations. Don't give away your power to other people, because if you do, your life will be very unstable. It's kind of like if you're on a boat and there's like really rough waters outside of the boat. If none of the water comes in, you're gonna be fine. And that's kind of how I see life. I see my sense of self-worth as something intrinsic, something that I am born with and I can never lose it. It doesn't matter to me if people love me or they hate me or they're indifferent, because inside of myself, I feel worthy. I feel worthy, and I know that my worth isn't determined by other people's opinions of me. So yeah, I think it all comes down to not caring what other people think so much and generating your confidence from within. Okay, so another thing that I realized, and it's really, really important, and I want to share this with you today. I was reading a book. I can't remember which book it was, but in the book it said, "You are worthy because you exist." And that literally blew my mind. That changed my whole perspective on self-worth. Like, in this world, we're raised to believe that there's something wrong with us, whether it is we're not as beautiful, we aren't as smart, we aren't as X, Y, Z. There's always something that we're trying to improve and prove ourselves to be worthy. And here this book was telling me that I was worthy because I exist. Period. I didn't need to do anything to earn my worth. I didn't need to change anything about myself to be lovable. And you have to understand this from a spiritual perspective for it to really sink in. Think about all the atoms in the universe, your body, your house, the earth, the sky, everything that exists in the universe at a certain point in time was a singularity. It was just a point, and it just exploded in the Big Bang, and everything expanded and still expanding. And you're part of that dance. You're part of the journey of the universe. And so us thinking that we're not worthy and comparing ourselves to other people, that just doesn't make sense. Like, if the universe didn't want you here, you would not be here. Your life, you are completely intentional. You are worthy because you exist. You are worthy just by being here. That is the proof of your worth. Like, think about it for a sec. You don't look at a dog or at a cat or any animal and you're like, that cat's an idiot, or that dog's an idiot. He shouldn't be here. He's not worthy of being here. Like, no, we understand that these beings, they're beautiful and they're worthy of being here. And so are you. You're not different from that. You're so worthy. Even us as babies, we learned insecurity through socialization. But as babies, we were full of love and we didn't feel insecure, we just were. I think that not liking yourself, not loving yourself, and insecurity is a social construct. Like, it's totally made up in our world. But I'm gonna let you in a little secret. The more you like yourself, the more you authentically appreciate who you are, the more people are gonna appreciate you. There's some people that they come into a room and they light up the whole room. And I believe the reason they do that, the way that they do that, is by radiating love. So they love themselves so much, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that they respect themselves and they're confident, and the love radiates outwards. And most of the time, when you're in that space of love for yourself, you are less judgmental about other people. You are more forgiving, you're more compassionate, more understanding. So it's a win-win. So by now, hopefully, I've convinced you to start loving yourself and to recognize that you're worthy because you exist. You don't need to do anything to earn it. But you may be asking yourself or asking me in your head, like, Mandy, how do I go from not liking myself, being insecure, self-doubt, to knowing my worth? So keep listening. I'm going to be offering you a few practical ways for you to develop the confidence you always wanted to have. So the first one that I would give you, and this has helped me so much, is fake it till you make it. You really have to embody the person that you want to become and do it so much that you actually become that person. You want to be the person that loves themselves. You want to be the person that's confident, that's compassionate, that's kind. So practice makes perfect. Another tip that has really helped me, especially in my creative projects, I'm laughing because I already know what I'm going to say, but you have to give yourself permission to suck. Okay, and that's going to sound weird, but what I mean is sometimes we don't even try something because we're so afraid of failing. We're so afraid of not being good. And that fear is so intense that we actually never try new things. So if you want to become good at something and you want to develop confidence in a certain skill, you have to give yourself permission to suck at the beginning, because unless you have like a God-given talent in something, most of the time when you start doing something, no matter what it is, you're not going to be the best at it. And that's okay. You have to give yourself permission to try something new. And I'm using harsh language right now, but really we shouldn't think about it that way. Like everything that I've tried the first time, I used to think like, oh, that was horrible, that sucked. But chances are it didn't suck. Like, it wasn't that bad. It's just we're so hard on ourselves. So another thing that can really help, and this is a spiritual practice that can help your mindset. So let's say you're in the forest. I'm going to give you an example. You're in the forest. You're looking at all the trees. There are some that are straight, some are going a little bit crooked, another one has fallen down, some are bigger, some are smaller, some have more leaves on it, some have less. You're not looking at a tree and you're like, this doesn't belong here. Or another tree and you're like, that's ugly, they shouldn't be there. No, you're looking at the forest itself, and it's beautiful and everything fits perfectly. That's how you should see yourself and people in general. So this is a practice that was suggested by Ram Dass, and he says that you should turn people into trees. So pretend like if somebody's different than you, a lot of the times our first reaction is to judge them. I don't understand this person, so I'm going to judge them mentally. But instead of doing that, you can start practicing turning these people into trees and understanding that there's so many different varieties of trees in a forest, and that's what makes it beautiful. So once you practice being less judgmental with other people, what will happen is you will become less judgmental about yourself. That's what it all comes down to, releasing judgment towards yourself. Now, speaking of judgments, I'm going to give you my last advice. I highly suggest that if you're working on your self-confidence, that you let go of toxic friendships. And what I mean by that is let go of the friendships that you have with people that are very judgmental. They say that we become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. So if you're surrounded by people that are always judgmental towards themselves or other people, ultimately what's going to happen is that you're going to start thinking like them and talking like them. And that's just how it is. We absorb other people's energies, and the more time we spend with these people, the more we become like them. So I highly, highly suggest that you cut the cords with these people and you focus on the relationships that you have that are positive and uplifting, starting with the relationship you have with yourself. So to summarize this whole episode, I think that self-doubt and insecurity is something that we pick up along the way. It's not something that we're born with. Fortunately, it's possible to change. It's possible to recognize that you are worthy because you exist. You don't have to do anything in particular to earn your worth. Remember, confidence is something that you can find within. It's not something that's dependent on anything outside of yourself. Remember that when you're trying something new, it's okay to not be amazing at it. In fact, don't be judgmental towards yourself. Try new things and be open to new experiences. Also, it's really important to have a really positive and supportive circle. In the journey towards self-love, you don't want to surround yourself with people that are going to bring you down. So, that being said, I hope you got something out of this episode. I'm really glad we got to sit down and talk a little bit about self-doubt and self-love. Within the next week or so, I'm going to be releasing my next episode. I have a special guest and I'm so excited to have her on the show. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you liked this episode, please let me know by writing a review or by sharing it with a friend. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are in the world. Sending you all of the love, all of the light, and the Reiki energy. Talk soon. Bye.